July 13th was the last time I'd done a live interview, and here I am sitting back down on September 16th. And it feels like forever, but I'm glad to be back. And of course, we're going to have some fun with my special guest tonight, Jim Bailey, and I'm going to introduce him in a second. But I just want to do the usual introduction here for Studio HFL and remind everybody that if you want to see all of these interviews on the YouTube channel, you can go to Studio HFL on YouTube. You can also go to the Studio HFL Facebook page. You can go to studiohfl.com. And while you're there on the website, you can order some merchandise. So you can get a shirt like this, the Studio HFL polo, or you can get one of the other many items I've got there. If you have not yet subscribed to the newsletter, you can do that. And oh my gosh, it's been forever since I've gone through this. What else? Oh, if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so via Patreon, patreon.com/Studio HFL. And there are 4 tiers of support. You can do that from as little as $3 a month. And that's only $36 a year. Hey, that's pretty good math, right? I must have been a Muncie student, I think. So, all right. So we're going to have some fun here. Jim Bailey, it's a pleasure to meet you. And it's a pleasure to meet you on your 90th birthday. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Larry. And it's a pleasure to have a 90th birthday and be be seen instead of viewed.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Right? Yeah. So 90 years, I remember there was a joke, and I think George Burns told this. He goes, who would want to live to be 90 years old? And the answer was every 89-year-old.
That's a good one.
And now let's see if you identify with this. As I think about it, he also had a statement. He goes, of course, I remember him standing there with a cigar, right? He always had that cigar in his hand. And he said, I'm 80 years old, but I feel just like I did when I was 40. But the problem is when I was 40, I felt like I was 80. I mean, that's not many people are going to remember George Burns these days, right? But oh my goodness, he was funny.
I remember him well.
So I don't know where to start other than you're kind of a local legend there, especially in Muncie. You taught at Muncie Southside, is that right? Or correct me.
25 years, and we had a FM radio station. I was the studio manager, and that's when I met John Clark, and they hired him to be the band director, and I was on hall duty. He came walking down the hall. He was very splendiferous in his dress. I remember well, he had on a navy blazer and a blue shirt, and he had on tan pants, and he had on loafers, and he walked by me, and I spoke, and he spoke, and after that we became wonderful friends.
Well, more than friends now, right?
Well, yeah, I'm his father-in-law.
Well, I guess I should say you're still friends.
Yes, and we always will be.
Yeah. So tell me, so you're a trumpet player. I mean, really, that's kind of the prerequisite for being on this show is you have to have some sort of association with trumpet. You are or were a trumpet player, right?
Yes, and I would still like to play, but my amateur has left me, and but fortunately, my wife hadn't left me, but my amateur has. We've been married 62 years, Larry.
Oh my goodness! Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. 62 years. She could have been paroled by now.
You're right.
So John had a note here that you played a Martin committee trumpet. So that was the horn, one of the horns to have back in the day. Is that right?
Well, yes. When I was in the 6th grade, my grandfather and grandmother gave me a cornet for Christmas. And I took it out of the Christmas package, and I don't know why, but I got a pretty decent sound out of it the first time I ever tried. And I played that cornet through the 9th grade. I was in the 6th grade then, through the 9th grade. And then I went to high school, played in the high school band. And my mother and father bought me a Martin committee model, and some of the guys that were in on that, getting it, Dizzy and Miles and some of the big names. But they paid $300 for it, and I don't know where they had that money because we weren't rich at all, but they got it for me. And I still have that horn, and John's going to get it. It's 70-some years old, and it's going to be his.
John, you're going to have to bring that to a rehearsal. I'd love to see that horn.
I can do that for you, Larry.
Yeah, that'd be great. I started out on cornet as well, and I remember switching to trumpet. But years later, I really started to appreciate the sound of the cornet. And you think back to Red Rodney, some of these guys from the early part of Dixieland and even the early part of the big band were playing cornets back then, weren't they?
Yes. Do you know how Red Rodney came to be?
No.
Well, he was traveling with this black band down in the South, and at that time they were all black musicians, and they stayed in homes because they wouldn't unfortunately let the people stay in hotels. Mm-hmm. And so Red Rodney was with this black group. The name escapes me, but you'd know him. And so the band leader said, well, we're just going to call you Red. And that's how he got going, and he played trumpet with them, or cornet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was back in the 30s.
There was another Red Nichols, I think, is another.
Oh, and he's Five Pennies, yes.
Right.
He played in Muncie, and when they played in Muncie, they came to town and they handed out all these pennies, and they were red, and it was red penny. That's a whole story.
No, that's a great story, though. Did you ever teach music history? Because I have a feeling you'd be a great music history teacher.
No, but I'm old enough to know a little music history. And fortunately, I can still remember most of it.
Well, okay, so let's think back to when you first started playing trumpet. Did you have any idols, any icons?
Yes, of course. Back in the 40s when I was playing, of course, Harry James was big time then, and his Flight of the Bumblebee is still one of the classics. And of course, Louis. Now, Louis was a little bit different. He may not have been the greatest, but he sure was an entertainer. And I suppose those two. And then later in the 70s, and Maynard came along, and with his upper register, I mean, he just blew me away. And then, of course, Doc Severinsen. Doc was the greatest, and his techniques were awesome. I saw Doc down in Panama City Beach when we lived down there before we moved back to Muncie. He was in his 90s then, and he was in this big venue that we went to, and I'll tell you, he just rocked the place. And he was 90 years old. Well, he was my age.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Doc. And do you know that Doc is actually 94 years old this year?
Yes, he's older than I am.
Well, hey, Jim. Jim, would you mind pause for just a second? I gotta fix something here. Well, here's the thing: is I've got somebody that wants to wish you happy birthday, and I'm gonna bring him on here. Doc Severinsen, can you say hi to Jim Bailey for me?
I sure can. Hello, Jim.
Oh my goodness!
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
You're just a kid.
Well, compared to you, yes. And as you used to do.
Well, you didn't have to say that,
Oh, thank you, Doc.
Let me get out of the way here. Let me try to find a place where. There we go. There we go. Doc, how are you? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see what's left of you.
Yeah, Doc, I remember the last time I stood in front of you. You said if you stand there much longer, they're going to forget I'm here. I was trying to put your lapel mic on, and I was a little bit bigger at that point, but Hey, and I know Kathy's there in the background. Kathy, how you doing?
Doing fine. This
Yes.
is amazing.
I
Right?
know it's so good to see you.
Good to see
And
you.
so, boy, I tell you what, I kind of wish we were all in the same room. That would be great, but here we are. Doc, I don't know if you got on here in time. Jim was just telling me about some of his favorite trumpet players, and he actually said, and of course there was Doc Severinsen, the greatest of all time. Can you believe that? Somebody that got that kind of admiration for you.
Well, it's very nice to hear that, and I never felt that I was anything more than just a guy doing the best he could. The trumpet is a jealous mistress, and all you can do is practice and hope for the best, really.
So, Doc, Jim was just telling, he started on a cornet, and I remember he said he got a pretty good sound out of it, but I remember you telling your story about how your neighbors gave you a trumpet, but it didn't have a mouthpiece.
Well, they were cleaning out their basement. That's quite a story. This little town of 600 people at that time has gone down now to a couple of hundred, but some neighbors were cleaning out their basement, and those people were the Earl Snell family, and he went on to become the governor of the state of Oregon, and they kind of adopted me, and they were cleaning out their basement, and they found an old army bugle, and they didn't take notice of the fact that it did not have a mouthpiece. Well, and nor did I. So they said, well, Little Doc, they all call me Little Doc. Little Doc, he'll figure out something here. So they brought her over to my house, and nobody said anything about the fact that it didn't have a mouthpiece. I just put it up and, tightened up my armature a little bit, which I didn't even have yet. And then I was sort of adopted into their family, which led to many interesting things. To be able to live and have the counsel of people of that stature, for instance, like when Uncle Earl died, he was killed in a plane crash. I don't think I ever got over that, and I certainly haven't to this day. And I've had a lot of very nice things like that happen to me. So I got to say that I might be 94, but I'm lucky.
Yes, you are. Jim, got anything you'd like to ask of Doc while we got him here?
But I'll just say this. He referred to himself as Little Doc. And you all know this, I'm sure, but his father was a dentist, and they called him Big Doc, and that's why he ended up Little Doc. Is that correct, Doc?
Yes.
You didn't think I knew that.
My dad helped deliver me when I was born, and I was born on a kitchen table he cleaned me up, wrapped me in a blanket, and he stepped out of the house showing me off to people, and the local folks said, well, here comes Big Doc and Little Doc.
Well, that's right. Well, that was before or after dinner? You said on the kitchen table.
No, breakfast.
Oh. Okay. No, I just always admired Doc, and I have many of your records, and I play them frequently, and your CDs, and I enjoy them very much. Now, where's your fancy coat that you used to wear on the Tonight Show?
They would, when I moved to Tennessee, they wouldn't let me bring them across the state line.
Well, what do they know in Tennessee?
You know,
That's
you can't
country.
have everything.
You're above that.
So, Doc, I'm actually working on one of the interviews that we did a while back, and it's going to be coming out soon. But that story about how you first got in, you passed a store window, if I remember, and saw that cowboy shirt in the store, and you got that. Was it red silk, red satin?
My mom made that for me.
Oh, she made it for you.
Yeah, I was. I guess I was hired or asked to go and play at a rodeo and up in Condon, Oregon, and my mom thought, well, you got to have something special to wear, so she got her hands on some red silk and made me a cowboy shirt. And little did I know what was coming after that with the Tonight Show and the clothing and all of that.
There's a great story. In fact, Doc, the name of the movie, the documentary they just did on you, I'm blanking on the title of that. Never Too Late. Never Too Late.
Never Too Late. Yeah, right.
Which was a spectacularly well done movie. And if Jim, if you haven't seen that yet, I'm going to try to find out how we're going to get you a way to view that. But I knew it went through some film festivals, made its way around the country. At least I'm hoping that it's going to be available for purchase at some point.
Well, I think it is.
Good.
I'm not too sure. I see a lady's picture here. Noel.
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 That's Danny Gosling's wife.
Yep.
Yeah.
Noel Tredick.
Hi, Noel.
I knew her mom.
Yeah.
And when she played in the symphony there, I met her. And then her sister Blythe played cello with the Phoenix Symphony when I was the pops conductor there. And it's kind of nice to see that Noel is being represented there.
She is, aside from being one of the sweetest people you've ever met, she is a pretty fantastic musician herself. And I'm looking forward to, we're actually playing with a Muncie Symphony this weekend. We're doing a Billy
Larry,
Joel program. Yeah.
Hey, Doc, it's John Clark. This is my father-in-law. This was no idea. Larry, on our 4th of July concert. No. When did we play the Beatles together? It was in June or July, Noel. Was that correct?
Not that long ago, July. So
Exactly. All right. Well, she's the one that I said, hey, my father-in-law is turning 90 years old. And Larry says, oh my gosh, I have to interview him. So, Doc, this is the exact reason why. Noel is the reason why we're here tonight. All right. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Well, yeah. I'm proud to have a friendship with the Tredick family, and their mom was just a great person.
Well, Doc, you are too. I tell you, to be able to take time away from practice. And if I got to ask you, Doc, how many hours did you get in today?
About close to 3.
And you're still working on the Tebow. You told me we're starting the Tebow routine. You still working on that?
Yes.
How's that coming along?
Better and better. It's he really has a wonderful thing that he gets you to utilize a poo attack to bring your vibrating surfaces together. So, you know, like poo, 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 and then it goes poo, and then 2, so that you hook those 2 things up, and it's really been a big help to me.
So, Doc, I bring that up because Jim was telling me before you got on. Jim was telling me he lost his embouchure, and I'm thinking if
Who's that now?
Jim, your special guest here, he said he lost his embouchure. Now I'm telling you, Jim, if Doc Severinsen can still have an embouchure working the way he's got it working, he just took away your excuse for not picking that horn back up. So I think you've got to get that mouthpiece out first thing tomorrow and start working on that embouchure again.
I'll do that for you and Doc. I promise.
Well, wait a minute. What kind of mouthpiece have you got?
I don't know. I paid $1 for it. It was in a box of a lot of.
Well, there's your problem right there.
It's what they call a pea shooter. You know what a pea shooter is, of course, Doc.
I sure do, because the first trumpet that I had, the actual trumpet was an old Busher number 9 pea shooter, and it was all gold plated and engraved and all of that. And that's the very first horn that I actually had.
How about that?
And I loaned it to a well-meaning relative, and that's the last I ever saw of that trumpet.
Well, that's the way relatives sometimes are.
You still have yours?
Yes.
Do you have the trumpet?
Yes. It's 70-some years old.
Is it a Busher?
No. It's a Martin committee model.
Oh, well, there's another good one to have right there.
There you go.
Yeah, they're really wonderful instruments.
Well, the Woody Herman Orchestra used to play those in the number 3 big bore. That's when they came out in the 40s.
Well, I'll have to take your word for that.
Yeah. Well, I try to tell it like it is. Sometimes I get confused, but then my wife straightens me out.
That's what wives are for.
Amen, Doc. As you would say.
Yes.
Love it.
That's great.
So, Doc, I want to thank you, Kathy, you as well, for taking the time for this. It means a lot, of course, to Jim and to John, but it means a lot to me too. And
Well, wait a minute now. I'm not through yet.
well, that's fine, but I wanted to make sure you understood. I've learned I cannot get rid of you, Doc. Nor do I want to get rid of you.
Because I'm going to do a little advertising now.
Okay.
If anybody knows where there is a Busher pea shooter number 9 trumpet available, I'd love to get my hands on it and buy it. So if you know who I think might,
I bet Vince DiMartino might have one of those.
Hey, Larry.
well, no, if he had it, I would know about it. But I'm thinking of that guy that wonderful gentleman that there in right near you that has the instrument repair and specializes in trumpets.
Oh, here in Indy?
Who?
Here in Indianapolis?
South Bend.
What?
Oh, up in South. Are you talking about Fred Powell?
No. I know him, but
Well, I'll have to think who that would be.
well,
Hey, Doc.
Oh, and you're not talking about Dr. Is it Dr. Valve? That guy up in Chicago?
no.
Okay, well, I'm striking out on this.
I know him, but
Yeah.
Anyway, I've always wanted to get my hands on another one of those Bushers.
Hey,
Yeah, John.
tell me this, Doc, tell me a little bit about the Doc Severinsen Con trumpet TR 5000. That is one of the best student line trumpets that I have ever put in the hands of a sixth grader. They did not make them long, but it was a Doc Severinsen model Con B-flat trumpet.
Yeah, Danny Hinken had bought the con company, and I think that horn was made about that time.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to have to throw an advertisement in here too, Doc. So this, you told me about this new Destino you'd been designing with Shires.
Yeah.
I had 4 of them. I've actually got 4 of them in my possession right now, playing through all of them. I think I finally settled on one of them. You've designed a pretty decent horn. and I'm going to have to play it for you sometime. I'm scared to death to do that, but
Oh, no. I'll be glad. First of all, I'm glad that you have it and that you realize what a nice horn that is.
boy, when it wants to sizzle, it can sizzle, and when it wants to be like velvet, it's like velvet.
Well, is it my model?
Yeah, it's the latest thing. It's the one where you had sorry, we're talking tech stuff here, but it's the one where you had changed the taper going into the valve block.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that really is the last thing I came out with, and I'm having just great joy playing on it at home here, and Kathy has one too. So we have a trumpet duel going. She practices upstairs, and she finally kicked me out of the house, and she built a studio for me off of the garage. So I go out there with that trumpet, and I tell you, really, it is. I think it might be one of the all-time great trumpets.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And along that line, you helped develop that Eastman student model too. John, I'm going to have to get one of those instruments in your hands for your kids.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get them to let me design a trumpet for band, like the bands that play at football games, the halftime shows. And I got the idea when I moved here and saw the extent of the playing that goes on at the half times. And I thought, boy, they need to have a trumpet that's made just especially for that. But there's some of that in that horn of mine that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to see that you're so excited about it.
I'm thrilled. I tell you what, honestly, I know you're being funny about that, but I have to tell you, I look forward to opening that case every day, because it is a fun horn to play from the very beginning.
That reminds me, when I was, I guess I was 7 years old, and my dad was trying to get me to practice the violin. And I finally told him, I said, look, I don't want to play the violin. He said, well, I'll tell you what, you're going to practice the violin every day. And if you don't practice, you're going to sit up in that high chair over there for the 1 hour that you would have practiced. And I said, okay. And I have that high chair in the living room here. and every time I look at that thing, it reminds me I got to keep practicing. And anyway, my dad finally gave up, and he says, well, okay, what do you want to play? And at that time, I was very admiring of a trombone that a neighbor had, and a guy named Wilbur Fletcher. And it was to me, it was very, I just said, now that's what I want. My dad said, well, you know, you can't play a trombone because you can't reach out the slide positions. You're too small for that. He said, but you know what? I think old Herbert Clark that works down at the Shell service station is a mechanic. I think he's got a trumpet up in his attic. So we went down there and saw him, and he said, yeah, I still got it. And it was that Busher pea shooter number 9, gold plated. The next day, I go down there in the garage where he's working, and I opened that case, and the smell of that horn that had been in there for years, just I was done. I was gone right then and there. And I'm glad to see how excited all of you are.
Well, Doc, I know you've traveled. You've probably done every state in all 50 states, probably a number of times, haven't you?
Yeah.
So me asking you, do you remember coming through Muncie, Indiana? Do you remember ever playing Muncie, Indiana?
Yeah. That's where I met Noel Treddick's mom.
So were you conducting or playing, or who were you traveling with?
Just me, myself, and I. I remember I went to a little restaurant to eat there because they knew I liked country cooking, and I had a great meal. I was there to play with an orchestra. I think didn't Muncie have a symphony orchestra at one time?
They still do.
Maybe still.
They still do.
And I went there to play with them, and then that was where I met Noel's mom, who was one of the violin players or string players in that orchestra.
And I'm trying to remember her first name. You know, she passed away not too long ago, and Noel was going to have a memorial service. An orchestra was going to play that, and of course, with COVID, it got delayed. It's been delayed a couple of times, but yeah, her mom was extremely well known, very influential, I think, not just in Muncie, but all throughout this area. But I'm going to have to find her name. Unless Noel, if you're still watching here, put that up in the chat.
She was so well respected in the area. Mrs. Shredder.
Noel is listening. Be sure.
There she is, Patricia. Her name's Patricia.
To your sister Blythe.
There we go. She just put that in there. Doc, it's Patricia.
We were in the Phoenix Symphony Orchestra together.
And you were the pops director out there for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, 25 years.
That is quite. I didn't realize it was that long. I knew you were up in Buffalo. I think you were Buffalo Philharmonic for a while too, right?
Yes, I was. And
did you manage doing that all at the same time? Were there several orchestras at the same time?
Yeah, I had 4 or 5 orchestras at one time.
Wow.
You know, I really, really enjoyed that phase of my life, because when I was asked to come and be the pops director at Phoenix, I told him, I said, look, I don't know anything about that stuff. They said, it doesn't matter. We will help you make out the programs. We'll help you select the tunes, and then we'll tell you how to conduct it. All you got to do, just stand up there and wave your arms and be jolly and all of that sort of thing. And I was there for 25 years, and it was one of the greatest experiences I ever had. Because now I was into another kind of music altogether. The conductor there, do you remember his name, honey?
Teo Alcantara.
What?
Phoenix? Teo Alcantara.
Yeah, Teo Alcantara, who was from Spain, and he said, you know, you can't just play the sort of things that you're doing now. You have to learn some repertoire and learn how to conduct these things. And I said, well, great. And we'd be on a break with the orchestra, and I take my music and be asking guys in a section, now this section here, how do you want to see me conduct that? And they would say, well, you do this, and here's what we're looking for. And it turned out to be an incredible experience, really. I never thought of myself as a conductor. When they asked me to come conduct the orchestra, I said that, well, you know, that's well and good, but I don't know anything about that stuff. And they said, sure you don't. Well, no, you just come and get up in front of the orchestra and wave your arms, and you'd be surprised what might happen. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Okay, so Doc, I want to ask you about that, because I remember you telling me how that first time that you made the trip from the trumpet section on the Tonight Show down to the spot where you became the band leader. Was that any kind of the same feeling? I mean, you know, you're stepping in to lead a big band, but how does that compare to leading an orchestra? Did you have the same kind of anticipation or excitement with that?
Trying to tell him you.
We're having a little problem with but anyway, I told you, I know, so there you have it.
Can you hear me? All right, so can you hear me yet again? I know there was a little
And
bit of audio.
again, happy 90th birthday to you, kid.
Well, thank you, Doc.
What do you
Happy
want to be when you grow up?
Pardon me?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I'm a little short guy. I'm only about 5'4". I might want to be 5'5". But you know, most trumpet players were short.
Good
Maybe
answer.
6'4".
So, well, I don't know. I think I'm having a little bit of sound issues. Kathy just texted me, said that sound is breaking up. I don't know if it's any better. John?
Yeah, we're fine here, Larry.
Okay, Doc. But I tell you what, this might be a good place to wrap things up. Jim, anything else you want to ask Doc before we sign off here?
I just want to tell him I have admired him so much, and I still do. And you keep on blowing, man, because you're the greatest. I don't think he heard me.
Well, I heard. Well, here's the thing: is that's at least being recorded, so I'll make sure he gets that message.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the audio, but Jim, hey, it's been a pleasure to chat with you tonight, and happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Larry, and you've made my evening.
Well, you can thank your son-in-law. I almost said brother-in-law. You can thank your son-in-law for that. And
Well, he's like a brother.
so, well, listen, Doc and Kathy, if you're still there, hang on a second. I want to chat with you here afterward. But John, I will see you this weekend.
Thanks a lot, Larry. I really appreciate it.
That, and to the rest of the family there, I know we didn't get introduced, but hi there. And yeah, so there we go. All right. So Jim, happy birthday again. And thanks for being on here. I appreciate it.
Well, Larry, thanks so much for having me. It made my day.
All right. Well, you take care, and hopefully I'll meet you in person at some point soon here.
I look forward to it.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And of course, if you missed any of this, you can see the whole thing on YouTube channel tomorrow. It'll be up there. And in fact, Jim, if you guys want to watch this again, it'll be recorded and available to you. You can show everybody that missed it. You can show
All right.
off.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks.
All right. All right.